Hello, Taurus rising. This is Mandy Ray of Ecstatic Astrology here for your Venus retrograde report. This will take you all the way through October 9th. Okay, so all the way up through the full moon in Aries. The Venus retrograde dates are July 22nd through September 3rd. And I have an infographic that I'm going to draw on, and I'm going to be shouting dates at you. So get your calendars out. I'm going to be talking about what's going on. All right, let's go ahead and dig in. So here we go. We got your infographic. How about that? Venus retrograde in Leo for Taurus rising. Yay. So the first thing to note is that the shadow of Venus retrograde is actually June 18th through October 7th. Okay. So Venus hit 12 degrees of Leo, which is where it will retrograde back to on June 18th. So really the story starts there. So you may just want to know that so you can, note it in your calendars or go back and look depending on what's going on, okay? It goes all the way through October 7th when Venus passes the degree that it's stationed retrograde, 28 degrees, okay? So that is, a much longer period of time than July 22nd through September 3rd. This is why I want you guys to know the shadow time. All right, so where is it happening? It is happening in your fourth house of home, family, emotional security, nurturing, and self-care. So this area is closely related to the actual home, literally where you live. A lot of people, Venus retrograde, which I've been calling a rebranding, pretty much. It's a reevaluation period, but Leo is really about your creative spirit, your heart, what you desire, what is fun, right? How you are creative, how you're romantic. That's Leo. And so this could take place, this reevaluation or rebranding on your home, within your family. Children is a Leo topic. And with the fourth house being involved, which is family, you could be, seeing things pop up within your family, Venus retrograde stories, which are someone's fortune changes, someone wants to redo their looks, in your family, in your home. Or maybe you just want to paint your cabinets, but that's really what Venus retrograde is about. But we can't skip over the emotional part of the fourth house. It is your roots, and it could be about reconnecting to your roots or completely cutting them off, depending on what is going on for you. So that is one piece of the story. All right. The other piece of the story is what's going on in Taurus, which is your rising sign. So that's your first house. Identity, self, independence, autonomy. You can say a lot of things about the first house, being body, being your image, but also how you forge ahead in the world yourself. It's about you. That is the first house. So what is there is Uranus and Jupiter. Jupiter is expansion. Jupiter is abundance. Jupiter is also meaning and spirituality, and philosophy. And it also is the planet that rules travel, right? So Jupiter in your first house is expanding your need to either be seen, first house, self identity, or to value yourself, or to find meaning in who you are, find who it is that you are, right? That's a very first house thing. Uranus is change. Uranus is innovation. Uranus is freedom. And so Taurus risings could have gone under a complete identity shift with Uranus in your first house since 2018, right? So it's definitely a time in which we shift our values according to what house it's in. Values surrounding my image, surrounding my independence, my autonomy, who I am as a person. Now, Taurus is ruled by Venus. It's a Venus ruled sign. So really, it's looking to Venus retrograde to get more information. And interestingly, Venus retrograde will square both of these planets 3 times. So the first time that it squared Jupiter was June 11th. That was even before the shadow period, which started June 18th because it was early degrees. So a Venus square to Jupiter is not all bad. They're both good luck planets. Venus is love and money and aesthetics and what you're drawn to. Jupiter, again, abundance, expansion, truth. The square, which is tension. I mean, when two good guys kind of get into it, really, it's not a big deal sometimes, right? So a lot of times Venus square Jupiter can just mean excess. But it can also inform you a lot about what you are, who you are, what you want to be. So that happens June 11th. When Venus goes retrograde, it's going to also square it again, August 22nd. Watch your pocketbooks. Excess can be a thing. Also, protect yourself because Venus, closely related to intimate relationships, square Jupiter could be overdoing it on that side too. Okay. And then September 17th. So after these three squares, we're going to know what it is we want, including our identity and our home and family in that whole situation. Then the other thing that is going to happen is it's going to square Uranus. Now, it's already done it once, July 2nd. So again, you can go back and look at what was going on. Now, this is a little less innocuous, okay? Venus square Jupiter, not totally innocuous, but on this grand scheme of things, it's not like the biggest deal. I think because Venus retrograde is happening, it takes on a little more significance because it expands that retrograde, that reevaluation, that rebranding. Square Uranus, Uranus is about change, innovation, freedom, upheaval. It's unexpected events in your first house of self. And so that change in identity, you could be looking at Venus retrograde in your fourth house and going, am I emotionally secure? Do I feel good about what I've done or who I am? And if I don't, why? You know, this is more of a let's check out how I'm feeling and where I'm comfortable and what needs to change, right? The other thing is, you know, maybe I want to move, and Uranus in my first house is like, yeah, but my identity is built around this house. What do I do about it? Right. So you can see how those two things square can create tension there between who I am and who I want to, how I want to be seen, who I am at home, and how I feel at home and with my family. Okay. And in my emotional nature. And am I being authentic based on what I need emotionally versus how I'm presenting myself? So August 9th is the second one, and that would be with Venus retrograde. And then September 29th is the third one. So you can look at those 3 points and see how the shifting is happening and the changing is happening. Okay. Some other considerations: North Node in Aries, South Node in Libra. I find this to be intimately related to the Venus retrograde for a few reasons. First of all, the nodes of the moon are eclipse points. Okay, this is where the eclipses will happen. And that's why I'm doing this video up through October 9th, and I'm stopping it there because right after that is the first eclipse. So I'm going to do a whole other video for that. But the South Node in Libra is what we're leaving behind. It's the tail of the dragon. It's what we're kind of separating from or doing differently. Libra is Venus ruled. So it's going to be looking at the Venus retrograde as a thing that's informing what's going on with the South Node. The South Node is in your sixth house: health, habits, daily life. So something there is changing. Co-workers, pets, how you do life on a daily basis, your health, all of that is coming under scrutiny, I'd say, with the South Node there. And like, I need to let this area go or something here go. It could be a job, it could be a routine that you've gotten into, or a habit that you've gotten into, or a health thing that you've gotten into that is no longer working. Venus retrograde is going to kick that off and draw attention to the South Node. So the thing is, they're sextile. That's opportunity. So there is an opportunity here to look at what's maybe not right, or what you want to happen, or the rebranding that's happening emotionally and in your home and with your family, and look at the South Node in the sixth house and say, okay, maybe something needs to change, right? My habits, my daily life, whatever. And it's based on maybe what's going on in the fourth house of home and family. Now, the North Node in Aries is in your 12th house, which is spirituality, subconscious. It's dreams. It's very abstract. It can be your mental health even. So the North Node is what you're developing. It's the head of the dragon in Aries. It's more of more energy being put into this area: retreat, reflection, maybe quiet, maybe mysticism, some spirituality. The North Node is really developing that, and it's trine to Venus. Okay, so it's all coming from this home, family, emotional security area, but the trine is supportive. and there's something that's telling you, maybe I'm working too hard to support my family and I'm not having fun and I need more freedom, something like that. Of course, that is not true for everyone. It could be like, oh, I haven't been focusing on my health, but I'm going to stay at home more, focus on what I want, get some retreat and reflection, okay, or something like that instead of going out. There's lots of different possibilities here. So that's important. And then the other thing to note is something that happened July 20th, and that is Mars in Virgo. And I don't have Mars here, so we're gonna stamp Mars with an X. There. Mars is in Virgo, okay? And the reason I don't have Mars, the Sun, or Mercury on here is because they changed too soon. So I'm gonna have to like actually market myself as they change. So it opposed Saturn. Now, Mars in your fifth house is romance, creativity, love, children. Mars is like, yeah, we got to do something here, make something happen. Virgo is perfection. So you may be looking for the perfect fun time or the perfect romantic story, you know, or something like that. Um, the opposition to Saturn that happened July 20th feels like the breaks. Saturn's in your 11th house of networking groups, goals for the future, and things like that. So Mars in the fifth really wants to be creative and kind of dig into what your creative spark is and your passion is. Saturn in the 11th house is like, yeah, but you have obligations. You've promised people that you're going to organize this thing and you set this goal. And that can kind of feel, oppressive a little bit. So that was July 20th. All right. Then you're going to have Mercury there. Mercury is going to retrograde. It's also going to oppose Saturn. Then you're going to get the sun there and it's going to oppose Saturn. So I wanted to note that even though it's not necessarily linked with Venus retrograde, there is something to be said about the Saturn opposition coloring this time, especially when the sun opposes Saturn, because the sun rules Leo. That's where Venus retrograde is. So Venus retrograde is looking at the sun after it moves into Virgo, opposing Saturn, and it's like, ew. Okay. So that's important to note. And I just wanted to draw attention there. And now I'm going to go into the dates. Okay. Let's just go on with the dates. First up, we've got today's July 24th, by the way. July 27th, Mercury and Venus retrograde conjoin. So Mercury is in Leo right now. What do I want to make Mercury? We'll make Mercury a question mark. That feels appropriate. There's Mercury. Mercury is in Leo, and it's going to conjoin Venus retrograde. So this again is July 27th, and our minds, our communication, the way we process data, the way we speak, listen, and learn, that's all Mercury. It's also commerce. Mercury conjunct Venus retrograde can bring mental awareness to what this is about, what we maybe want to reevaluate or redo with Venus retrograde there in the fourth house of home, family, and emotional security. So that is a date to put on your calendar. I think it's good. A Mercury conjunction of Venus retrograde is more like, like an aha moment, you know? So then we've got, what's coming up? Oh yeah, so fast. So fast. So that was July 27th, where Mercury conjoins Venus, right? At the late degrees of Leo. And then next, we got Mercury moving into Virgo. Okay, now Mercury rules Virgo. Mars is also there. But as soon as it moves into Virgo, it gets this stare down from Saturn. Okay, so Mercury, our minds in the fifth house of family, I'm sorry, inner child, creativity, good fortune, fun, joy, all of that maybe has a little bit of a rough time with Saturn in the 11th house of goals, future, networks, the things you've committed to, basically. So it can feel a little oppressive as well. Now, the 29th and 30th and 31st are all pretty awesome things. Okay. And that's because there's a grand fire trine in Sag. So you got the moon in your eighth house, which is shared resources, by the way. That means not your money, other people's money. We got the moon. We'll make the moon a heart, okay? And the moon is going to trine the north node in your 12th house and trine Venus retrograde in your 4th house. So that's a really good grand fire trine, which informs you of this very abstract place in your chart. The 8th house is about deep desires, it's about boundaries, contracts you've signed, things like that. Moon and Sag is pretty optimistic. I mean, I will say that. Trine the North Node in Aries, which is retreat and reflection. So you've got this spiritual sort of 8th house, which rules the occult, rules the deepest desires we have. The 12th house, which rules dreams and spirituality. And the 4th house, which is emotional security. Something clicks on the 29th. And then the 30th, the moon moves into Capricorn. And instead of having a grand fire trine, we've got a grand earth trine with the moon in Capricorn, trine Jupiter in your first house of identity. So this is 9th house, philosophy, meaning, adventure. First house, self. What else is it trining? Mars. Mars in the 5th house, romance, inner child, creativity, and love. So you've got this, and this is very supportive on the 30th, okay? Grand earth trine. Earth trines tend to make things happen literally in a material sense. So Mars is putting a lot of energy into that creativity, that romance, that love, and it's trining Jupiter in your first house, and you are feeling yourself. And with the moon in the 9th house, it's like, yes, all good. The 31st, Mars continues to trine Jupiter. So the 29th, 30th, and 31st are pretty good days in my book, I think. I think a lot happens and things move. But then we got August 1st. August 1st, full moon in Aquarius. That means the sun's down here in the 4th house. So we'll draw a little circle for the sun here. The sun's in Leo. It rules Leo. It's great. And then the moon is gonna be in Aquarius. Why am I saying it like that? Like, I don't know. Full moon in Aquarius because it's square Jupiter, which just makes it extra. Okay. But a full moon in Aquarius is in your 10th house of career. Okay. And achievement and success and all of that. So a full moon is definitely shining a light on that, but it's square Jupiter in your first house of identity and self. So it's like, oh, I got this job offer, but they don't want me to have tattoos, and I got tattoos all over my body. What do I do about it? Kind of an example of what could happen during that. Or, they're not seeing me for my accomplishments and my achievements like I want to be seen. The thing about Aquarius is it's ruled by Saturn. So this full moon on August 1st is also ruled by Saturn, which is opposing Mercury at the exact same time. August 1st looks like, I don't know. I'm just not super excited about August 1st. Because Saturn can tend to be oppressive, and there's obstacles, and it's ruling the full moon, and it's opposite Mercury, which is our minds. That we just want to have fun and be creative. And Saturn in Pisces in the 11th house is like, yeah, but you need to work towards your goals, and don't forget about that. And the full moon Aquarius is like, you need to achieve. And Jupiter in your first house is just like, I just want to be. Can you just let me be? So August 1st can be a little bit of a frustrating full moon. I'm going to say that. Okay. Then we've got August 6th, the sun squares Jupiter. It lasts through about the 8th. Sun square Jupiter is being extra. That's why the full moon square Jupiter can be excess. But with that being ruled by Saturn, it's not so excess in the way that I think normal squares to Jupiter are. But this August 6th through 8th date is definitely excess. Okay. You've got the sun in Leo, which just wants to have fun and live to its full purpose in your 4th house of home and family and emotional security, and Jupiter in your first house of self. And so it's just like a lot of energy ping-ponging off of each other. Okay. So whatever this Venus retrograde is about, that sun square Jupiter may also bring that out. And of course, I mean, that's the 6th through the 8th. And once that separates, you've got Venus square Uranus happening. Okay. So that is 8th through 10th. I give it a little bit of a wide date range because I think that's how long that could last. So August 8th through 10th, Venus squares Uranus for the second time. I talked about this early in the video. Change in my first house, reevaluation of my fourth house, identity, home, self, family, feeling good in my body and feeling emotionally secure about it. Venus is drawing attention to this with a square to Uranus. Okay. August 13th is the Venus star point. The Venus star point is when Venus and the sun come together. And that is a normal part of the retrograde cycle. Venus's orbit is very close to the sun, so it never is really far away from the sun. So when it goes retrograde, it will inevitably meet up with the sun. And August 13th, it does that at 20 degrees of Leo. So this is looked at as a good thing. It's called a Venus cazimi. That means in the heart of the sun. And we go, oh, I know what's going on. Now, the interesting thing is at 20 degrees, it's pretty close. This Venus star point is pretty close to square Uranus. So that really hasn't even let up by August 13th very much. Okay. And the sun is approaching a square to Uranus at the time. So Venus star point happens. Then we get Mars trine Uranus. And that is August 15th through 17th. So you see how things are happening boom, boom, boom. Okay, so Mars trines Uranus from Virgo, fifth house of creativity, inner child, joy, love, and romance, August 15th through 17th. Trine, supportive to Uranus in the first house of self. So again, my creative abilities and my identity are working together, and I'm working to change things massively because I want whatever it is that I want out of my fifth and my first house. Then August 16th, right in the middle of the Mars trine Uranus, is the new moon in Leo, and it's square to Uranus. So let me take the moon out of here. Remember, the moon is a heart. The moon and the sun are together, new moon, August 16th, square Uranus. So at the same time, the new moon in your fourth house of home and family is inviting you to plant new seeds, start a new cycle with regards to your inner world, your home, your family, your literal house, where you live, how it feels. Square to Uranus, first house self identity. How are we going to plant seeds? We got to change something, right? It's like I'm growing something completely new, but I got to figure out what it is I want to grow, basically. And think of that in terms of identity and home. And then Mars in your fifth house is like, yeah, I would also like to have some fun for once, please. Like, is really trying to free itself from the bounds of Saturn pretty much. Not the bounds, but from the boundaries of Saturn after it's opposed Saturn on July 20th. So August 16th seems pretty ripe for a big change in everyone's life. Now, August 22nd, Venus retrograde squares Jupiter for the second time. Okay. Again, excess, maybe a little too much fun, but Venus is retrograde now. So something may come up that you're like, oh, I didn't realize if I wanted to live alone and I kicked everyone out of my house. But I really am lonely now. I mean, that could, I'm just making up little situations. But that could be something that you deal with, the need for independence and autonomy versus the need to have your family around you, loving you and have people around, and how much those two things pull on you. So that's August 22nd. Again, watch for spending too much money around that time. And then August 23rd, our favorite question mark Mercury goes retrograde. I mean, I'll put 4 or 5. How about that? Lots of question marks. Mercury retrograde, August 23rd. Oh, and it's almost trying to Uranus, but it doesn't quite exactly trine it before it goes retrograde. In fact, it's like it's on its way through Virgo in your fifth house, wanting to create, wanting to do this stuff. And all of a sudden, it sees that it's about to have to talk to Uranus. And it's like, wait a minute, let me go check and make sure I got everything right. I think I forgot my keys. So Mercury retrograde in the fifth house is like, is this right for me? Is this what I'm passionate about? Am I doing it the right way? That's Mercury retrograde in Virgo. Um, and that goes all the way through September 14th, by the way. I'll get there, but right now I'm in August. So, August 27th, the sun. Oh, well, when does that happen? Hold on. The sun enters Virgo at some point. Oh, August 23rd, the same day Mercury goes retrograde, the sun moves into Virgo. And here's the thing with the sun in Virgo, that's the sun. The sun rules Leo. Let's not forget that. So Venus retrograde is now not just thinking about fourth house, home, and family. It's also looking at the fifth house, inner child, creativity, romance, my passions, myself. And it's reevaluating based on that. Well, August 23rd, the sun moves into Virgo, but also Mercury goes retrograde. So it's not even that we're very sure of what we want in this area. Mercury retrograde's tripping all over itself. Okay. So there is a lot to be said about the fifth house coming under scrutiny as well. And I think that we need to have that on our minds, for Taurus rising. All right. So then we've got August 27th. What we do is we erase Mars, which is the X. Don't forget, I got Mars as the X. Mars moves into Libra. But at that same time, August 27th, the sun opposes Saturn. And this is one of those dates I was talking about that could feel like an obstacle, a wall. And the sun is ruling Venus. So Venus retrograde may even be like, ugh, what is going on in my home and family right now? Maybe it's my kids because the fifth house is children. um Maybe I'm having to devote a lot of time to my kids. This is almost when school starts, right? So wait, what date are we on? No, it's probably well into school starting. Actually, we're at August 27th. Yeah, we're well into school starting here. So there is a lot to be said about all of the work that we're having to do around this time with the sun opposite Saturn, Venus retrograde, Mars moving into Libra. Now, let's spend a little time on Mars in Libra. Mars does not like to be in Libra. Mars is about doing things, forging ahead by itself, independence. It's the warrior, it's the ego, it's what keeps you alive. But in Libra, that's like other people, right? So Mars has to kind of check it out, make sure it's doing the right thing, make sure it's fair, make sure it's balanced. It's a little more hesitant than Mars, let's say, in Aries. So Mars in Libra is also ruled by Venus. Okay. So we got the sixth house now coming in, and we got all this like convoluted stuff going on where fourth, fifth, and sixth houses are all like popping off. All right. So it puts a lot of energy into that sixth house of home. I'm sorry, routine, habits, everyday life. And this is August 27th again. Health, co-workers. There may be a little frustration that comes up. Okay. Now, where are we at? August 30th. We got a full moon. Let's put the moon up here. Boop. All right. Don't forget the heart's the moon. We got a full moon on August 30th in Pisces. You see that little other planet beside the moon? That's Saturn. So we've already had the sun oppose Saturn. So we can say that it's kind of, over, but I think this full moon brings it back up again. Especially with the fact that if you follow all the rulers back, Saturn's in Pisces, that's ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter's in Taurus, that's ruled by Venus. Venus is retrograde in Leo, that's ruled by the sun. Well, the sun's in Virgo. What's that ruled by? Virgo is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is retrograde, right? So this full moon in Pisces may also feel a little oppressive, not totally great, not totally fun, but it is going to illuminate the goals, the networks, the friend groups, and maybe show you, like, is this exactly what you want in your life? Is this goal right for you? And if it is, then you need to be putting in the work for it. Okay. Then we've got something very special coming up September 4th. Okay. We're in September now. Only got like 1 month to go. September 4th, this lovely planet Venus here I'm sorry, September 3rd. I don't know why I said September 4th. I got September 3rd up here in front of my face. Venus goes direct. Yay, Venus direct, everybody. So now Venus is moving forward again, and it's going to repeat all of those squares. So on September 4th, so September 3rd, Venus goes direct. Then September 4th, Mercury retrograde over here in Virgo in your fifth house of joy, creativity, and fun is trine Jupiter. So this is the second trine to Jupiter of Mercury retrograde to the first house of self and identity and independence, right? So again, you're feeling your creative passions quite heavily and maybe figuring out something about my fifth house inner child and my first house identity during this time, September 3rd and 4th. Okay, now we've got September 6th. Actually, if we go September 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, we're looking at all pretty cool days. Why? Because Mercury retrograde trines Jupiter, and I'm just assuming this is good. A trine to Jupiter is generally always good. Mercury retrograde trine Jupiter, I don't know. We'll see. It depends on what's going on with the retrograde. But then you get the sun trine Jupiter too. That's awesome. And what does that mean? You see the sun and Mercury together? That means a Mercury cazimi. Mercury will be with the sun, an audience with the king. That cazimi is even pretty well trine Jupiter. Okay. So September like 4th through 8th is really nice. You got a lot of Jupiterian things going on. Okay. Which can be very illuminating. September 14th. This is when Mercury goes direct. Yay, thank goodness. We can take away all those question marks. But there's also a new moon in Virgo. So let's go ahead and erase this. All those question marks. Mercury just gets, one simple question mark whenever it comes out of retrograde. So we've got the sun, we've got the moon, and we've got Mercury. Mercury going direct, new moon in Virgo. This new moon in Virgo is very special, and I would take so much opportunity to really zero in on what I want out of life because it's trine Uranus. Trines are good. Trines are always really good. Don't forget that. Now, sometimes when you have too many trines, it can just be like stuck in a feedback loop. But generally speaking, trines are supportive. So the new moon in Virgo in your fifth house of joy, inner child creativity, and fun is in agreement with Uranus, which is changing your values around your identity and independence and self. Okay. So that's September 14th. And at the same time, Mercury goes direct and things may seem a lot clearer after that. So thank goodness. Now, September 15th through 18th, we've got Jupiter and Venus squaring each other for the third time. Okay. Again, I give a couple of days, September 15th through 18th. This is the last square Venus to Jupiter, one in which we've already had two before, one in which it's our home and family again, square tension to Jupiter, which is expanding our first house of self and identity and independence. Okay. So hopefully by this time we'll have caught on to the theme, right? And maybe not open our pocketbooks too much or do too much of something that could come back and go, why did I do so much of that? Right. All right. Then September 19th, the sun opposes Neptune. Haven't really spoken much on Neptune lately, but that's okay. The sun opposite Neptune can be a little spacey. Okay. Something to keep an eye on. You can have the wool pulled over your eyes with sun opposite Neptune. So September 19th, watch for rose colored glasses. September 21st, the sun also trines Pluto, empowerment. Like it. Sometimes endings, but that would be an ending that's good for you. And then September 23rd, the sun moves into Libra. So no more sun in Virgo, sun's in Libra now. All right. So this is also known as the equinox, right? September 23rd with the sun and Mars in Libra. We've got both of those planets being ruled by Venus retrograde. Libra is ruled by Venus retrograde. So Mars is also in a not exact, but close to exact sextile with Venus at this time. So your sixth house, daily life, routine, and health are getting a jolt of energy with the sun there. And Mars is almost in an opportunistic sextile with Venus in the fourth house of home and family, which is now direct. So actually, I can erase a little retrograde thing here. I won't erase it. Let's see. Venus is no longer retro. It went direct September 3rd. Okay, so I'm back on September 23rd, the sun in Libra, Mars kind of sextile Venus. And actually, I can make that more appropriate because it'll be more like over here, maybe not so wide. But that is a really nice sextile, I have to say. I'm excited about that. Home and family and daily life seems to be working together pretty well. Mercury direct trines Jupiter for the third time on September 24th. And again, fifth house, creativity, inner child self, to first house, identity, image, independence. And this direct trine, I think, is really going to have whatever we formulated during the Mercury retrograde or redone or rethought. This September 24th is going to be like, this is the way I'm going. Now, the only thing is the Mars will oppose Chiron around that time. Same day, September 24th. I don't have Chiron on here either, but Chiron is the wounded healer, and it's in Aries in your 12th house of spirituality and retreat and reflection. So there, that could be a little sensitive moment. With Mercury trine Jupiter, we'll probably be speaking our minds, okay? September 28th is the last square of Venus to Uranus, the last, like, I don't know what's going on. But I think we might know what's going on after this long Venus retrograde. By the way, collectively, that is an economic signature. Who knows what's going to happen with the economy with these Venus squares to Uranus, okay? Could be protests, could be things like that. And then September 29th, we have a full moon in Aries. Get my moon stamp. It's not even, it's at 6 degrees, 0 minutes, not even trying anything, sextile anything. It's just a full moon in Aries vibing with Mars and Libra. Okay, so this still has implications of not only Venus retrograde with the sun in Libra, ruled by Venus retrograde, but Aries is ruled by Mars and Libra, which is ruled by Venus. Sorry, not retrograde anymore, direct now, but still in its shadow. And Venus is still pretty well square Uranus, right? So that is a full moon that I think unaspected is simply going to be about the fourth house for us and the 12th house for Taurus risings, okay? Home, family, spirituality, retreat, and reflection. Oh, I got another stamp. I don't want a stamp. Okay. Oh, Mercury and Virgo is trine to Uranus at the same time. Gosh, so much going on. October 1st, Venus trines the nodes again. This is the second time because remember when it stationed retrograde, it did. And again, this is kind of a revisitation to when Venus went retrograde, July 22nd. And this happens October 1st. Mars is with the South Node at this time. So we can begin to see glimpses of what the eclipses mean. Mercury is opposite Neptune. Our minds are a little spacey, okay? October 1st, but maybe allowed to tap into something spiritual. So October 3rd, October 3rd, Mars is exactly conjoined to the South Node, and it's still pretty well sextile Venus. But October 7th, Venus is at the 29th degree of Leo. That's called the anaretic degree, also known as the degree of crisis. So anything that Venus retrograde has been about for you has come to this conclusion by October 7th, and it's going to be acted on or not. So October 9th, Venus moves into Virgo, and we say bye-bye to Venus retrograde, even the shadow. That takes you all the way through the full moon in Aries, okay? So the next video I do is going to be about October 14th, which is the solar eclipse in Libra after a Venus retrograde. It's juicy. Got a lot of juicy stuff coming up. I'm going to stop my share, look at you in the face and say, go to ecstaticastrology.com and book a session if you're interested, if this video is informative. And if you have any questions, leave some comments. Always here to help. Thank you very much for watching. I will catch you on the flip side.